Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Vengeance, watching the massive alien station grow larger on the main screen. The station looked like nothing humans had ever built. It was huge, maybe 10 times bigger than Earth's biggest. Space station. Strange lights moved across its surface in patterns that hurt to look at for too long. "Sir, we're getting a signal," said Lieutenant Danny Foster from the communications station. "They want us to dock at Bay 7. Jake nodded. After 3 months of travel through space that bent and twisted in ways that made his head spin, they had finally reached the meeting point. 3 alien races had called this meeting. They said they wanted to talk to the humans about something important. Jake had a bad feeling about what that something might be. Captain Lisa Hayes walked up beside him. She was the best diplomat Earth, but even she looked nervous. "Admiral, do we know anything more about what they want?" "Nothing good," Jake said. "When 3 powerful alien races want to meet with you, it's usually not to invite you to a party." The USS Vengeance was humanity's finest ship. It had taken 5 years to build and use the best technology humans had ever created. The crew was proud of their ship, but as they got closer to the alien station, Jake felt very small. The station was so big that their ship looked like a toy next to it. They docked without problems. The aliens had sent detailed instructions on how to connect to their station. At least their docking ports were similar to human ones. That was something, Jake thought. The meeting room was enormous. The ceiling was so high that Jake couldn't see the top. The walls seemed to be made of some kind of crystal that changed colors. 3 groups of aliens waited for them at a large table that floated in the air without any support. Jake could see the first group looked like they were made of living crystal. They sparkled and shined with inner light. Their bodies were tall and thin, and they moved like they were dancing even when they were standing still. Jake had read the files. These were the Zephyrians. They controlled an entire galaxy and were older than human civilization. The second group was harder to look at. They seemed to be made of pure energy that had been given shape. They glowed with different colors that shifted and changed. Sometimes Jake could see through them. Sometimes they looked solid. These were the Nixari. They had turned themselves into energy beings millions of years ago. The third group was the most disturbing. They looked like they had once been living creatures, but now they were part machine. Wires and metal parts grew from their skin. Their eyes glowed red. Some had extra arms or legs that were clearly artificial. These were the Korathi. They believed that flesh was weak and had replaced most of their bodies with machines. "Welcome, young humans," said the lead Zephyrian in a voice like singing crystal. "I am Warsinger Veltar. We have been waiting to meet your species." The Nexari spoke next. Its voice sounded like electricity crackling. "I am Node Prime Kethvar. We have observed your recent expansion into space." The Korathi's voice was harsh and mechanical. "I am Hive Lord Mordun. We have evaluated your technology and capabilities." Lisa stepped forward. "I am Captain Lisa Hayes, representing Earth and all human colonies. We are honored to meet with such advanced civilizations." The 3 aliens looked at each other. Then they began to laugh. The Zephyrian's laugh sounded like breaking glass. The Nexari's laugh was like static electricity. The Korathi's laugh was like grinding gears. Jake felt his face get hot with anger, but he stayed calm. "Advanced?" said Veltar. "Do you think we are simply advanced?" "Child, we have ruled galaxies since before your son was born. We have technologies that would seem like magic to your primitive minds." Kethvar floated closer to the humans. "We have been watching your species for some time. You have barely learned to leave your home world. Your ships are powered by crude fusion reactors. Your weapons are simple kinetic projectiles. You are like children playing with sticks." Mordun's red eyes glowed brighter. "Your biological forms are weak and inefficient. You have not even begun to improve yourselves. You are exactly what you appear to be, primitive animals who learn to use tools. Lisa kept her voice steady. We may be young compared to your civilizations, but we are eager to learn. Perhaps we can find ways to work together for mutual benefit. This caused another round of laughter from the aliens. Veltar's crystalline body sparkled with amusement. Work together? What could you possibly offer us? You have nothing we need or want. Your technology is thousands of years behind ours. Your science is basic. Your culture is crude. We have been debating what to do about your species, said Kethver. Some of us think you should be treated as pets. Others believe you should simply be ignored until you destroy yourselves. Jake couldn't stay quiet anymore. What gives you the right to decide humanity's fate? Morden turned his mechanical head toward Jake. Power gives us that right. We control 3 galaxies. We have fleets that number in the millions. We have weapons that can destroy stars. What do you have? We have ourselves, Jake said. The aliens laughed again. Yourselves? Said Veltar. You are nothing. Your entire species couldn't threaten a single one of our patrol fleets. Kethver's energy form pulsed with colors. We have decided to be merciful. We will give you one chance to avoid destruction. You will restrict your species to your home galaxy. You will never attempt to travel beyond its borders. You will never try to contact other civilizations without our permission. And if we refuse? Asked Lisa. Then we will correct the mistake of allowing your species to develop space travel, said Morden. We will reduce your colonies to ash. We will force your species back to your home world. We will make sure you never again threaten the order of the universe. The 3 aliens stood up. The meeting was over. You have 1 solar cycle to comply, said Veltar. Choose wisely. It would be unfortunate if such an amusing species had to be eliminated. As the aliens left, Jake and Lisa stood alone in the enormous room. The walls still changed colors, but now they seemed darker, more threatening. Admiral, Lisa said quietly, what are we going to do? Jake watched the aliens disappear through a doorway that sealed itself behind them. We're going to go home. We're going to tell Earth what happened here. And then we're going to make sure these arrogant aliens learn that humans are full of surprises. The USS Vengeance undocked from the station and began its long journey home. Behind them, the alien station grew smaller until it was just another star in the darkness. But Jake knew this wasn't the end. It was just the beginning of something much bigger. The 3 galaxies had made their first mistake. They had underestimated humanity. Jake Morrison was going to make sure it was also their last mistake. The war room deep beneath the Pentagon was filled with the most important people on Earth. President Kelly Adams sat at the head of the long table, her face serious as she listened to Admiral Jake Morrison's report. Around the table sat generals, scientists, and political leaders from every major nation on the planet. Let me make sure I understand this correctly, President Adams said. 3 alien civilizations that control entire galaxies have given us an ultimatum. We stay in our own galaxy or they destroy us. That's correct, Madam President, Jake replied. They made it very clear that they see us as primitive animals. They think we're no threat to them at all. General Frank Collins, the head of Earth's military forces, leaned forward. How much time do we have? 1 solar cycle. That's about 11 months in human terms, Jake said. They expect us to send a message of surrender before then. What if we tried to negotiate? Asked Dr. Marie Watson, the Secretary of Science. Maybe we could offer them something they want. Jake shook his head. They made it clear that we have nothing they want. To them, we're like insects that have learned to fly. Interesting, but not important. President Adams stood up and walked to the large screen that showed a map of known space. Gentlemen, ladies, we have a problem, but we also have an opportunity. These aliens think they know everything about us. They've made the mistake of underestimating humanity. With respect, Madam President, said General Collins, they control 3 galaxies. They have millions of ships. How can we possibly fight them? A new voice spoke from the back of the room. Because they've never fought humans before. Everyone turned to see a man in a dark suit walking toward the table. He was tall and thin, with gray hair and sharp eyes. Jake recognized him immediately. This was Ryan Brooks, the head of the government's most secret research programs. Mr. Brooks, President Adams said, I wasn't expecting you. I apologize for being late, Madam President, but I was making final preparations for what I'm about to show you. Ryan placed a small device on the table. May I? President Adams nodded. Ryan pressed a button, and the lights dimmed. A holographic display appeared above the table, showing what looked like a massive spaceship. This is Project Shadow Strike, Ryan said. For the past 15 years, we've been developing new military technologies based on a simple principle: never fight fair. Dr. Watson stared at the hologram. I've never seen a ship designed like this. What makes it special? Everything, Ryan replied. While other species develop their technology in straight lines, humans think differently. We adapt. We improvise. We overcome. The hologram changed, showing the ship's internal systems. This is not just a ship. It's a learning machine. The armor doesn't just protect against attacks. It learns from them. Every hit makes it stronger. Every weapon that hits it teaches it how to defend against that weapon. General Collins looked impressed. How is that possible? Smart materials, Ryan explained. The hull is made of millions of tiny robots that can change their structure instantly. When an energy beam hits them, they learn to absorb that type of energy. When a kinetic weapon hits them, they learn to deflect that type of impact. That's incredible, Dr. Watson said. But surely the aliens have similar technology. Ryan smiled. That's where you're wrong. The aliens are ancient. They've been using the same basic technologies for millions of years. They've perfected them, but they haven't innovated. They fight the same way they've always fought. President Adams studied the hologram. What about weapons? Humans have always been good at finding new ways to hurt each other, Ryan said. We've applied that skill to space warfare. While aliens use energy weapons and exotic matter, we use something much simpler and more effective. The hologram changed again, showing the ship's weapon systems. Kinetic kill vehicles. Essentially, we throw rocks at our enemies, but we throw them very, very fast. How fast? Asked General Collins. Fast enough to punch through any known shield. Technology, Ryan replied. Energy shields are designed to stop energy weapons. They're not designed to stop a chunk of metal moving at 90% the speed of light. Jake leaned forward. How many of these ships do we have? That depends on how much the president is willing to spend, Ryan said. We can build 12 dreadnoughts in 8 months. Each one will be more powerful than anything the aliens have ever seen. 12 ships against millions? General Collins shook his head. The math doesn't work. It does if you're not fighting. Fair, said a new voice. Captain Amy Foster walked into the room. She was small and looked young, but Jake knew she was one of the smartest tactical minds in the military. Mr. Brooks asked me to run war simulations based on the alien ship designs, Admiral Morrison observed. Amy activated her own holographic display. The aliens fight in perfect formations. They use traditional tactics that haven't changed in thousands of years. They are predictable. And President Adams asked, humans are not predictable, Amy said. We don't fight in formations. We don't follow rules. We use every dirty trick we can think of. In every simulation I ran, Human forces won despite being outnumbered. Dr. Watson looked skeptical. Simulations are one thing. Real combat is another. That's true, Amy agreed. But the simulations show something important. The aliens have one major weakness. They've never fought an enemy that doesn't play by their rules. Ryan nodded. For millions of years, the three alien civilizations have fought each other using the same basic strategies. They expect their enemies to behave in certain ways. They expect honor in combat. Humans don't believe in honor when survival is at stake, Jake said. Exactly, Ryan replied. We'll use tactics they've never seen before. We'll hit them where they don't expect it. We'll use weapons they don't understand. We'll fight a war they're not prepared for. President Adams looked around the table. This is a huge gamble. If we fail, humanity dies. If we surrender, humanity dies anyway, General Collins said. Maybe not immediately, but eventually. These aliens see us as pets at best, pests at worst. They'll never let us grow beyond what we are now. There's something else, Jake said. During the meeting, I got the feeling that the three alien races don't completely trust each other. They work together, but there's tension between them. Amy's eyes lit up. That's another advantage. If we can make them suspicious of each other, we can turn their alliance against them. Ryan pressed another button on his device. The Shadow Strike project isn't just about building ships. We're also developing new fighter designs, new weapons, and new strategies. Everything will be ready in 8 months. Where will we build these? Ships? Asked Dr. Watson. If the aliens are watching us, they'll see the construction. We're not building them here, Ryan said. We're building them in the shadow of Jupiter's moons. The radiation and magnetic fields will hide our activities from alien sensors. President Adams sat back down. How many people know about this project? Less than 500, Ryan replied. Everyone involved has been told they're working on deep space exploration projects. Only the people in this room know the truth. Good, President Adams said. It stays that way. If the aliens find out what we're really doing, they might decide not to wait for their deadline. She looked around the room at each person. Are we all agreed? Do we build these ships and fight? One by one, everyone nodded. General Collins was the first to speak. We fight. We fight, Dr. Watson agreed. We fight, Jake said. President Adams stood up. Then it's decided. Mr. Brooks, you have unlimited resources. Build your fleet. Captain Foster, I want detailed battle plans for every possible scenario. Admiral Morrison, I want you to command the fleet when it's ready. What about the aliens' deadline? Asked General Collins. We'll send them a message, President Adams said. We'll tell them we're considering their offer. We'll buy time while we build our ships. The meeting broke up, but Jake stayed behind with Ryan and Amy. Do you really think we can win? He asked. Ryan smiled. Jake, the aliens made one crucial mistake. They told us exactly what they think of us. They think we're primitive, weak, and stupid. They're not taking us seriously. That's going to cost them, Amy added. In warfare, underestimating your enemy is the worst mistake you can make. Jake nodded. Then let's make sure they pay for that mistake. In the depths of space, construction began on humanity's secret weapon. The Shadow Fleet would be ready in 8 months. The aliens had given humans 11 months to surrender. That gave humanity 3 months to show 3 galaxies. What primitive really meant. Commander Greg Stone stood on the bridge of the USS Retribution, watching the stars through the main view screen. His ship was one of the new Shadow Fleet vessels, and he was proud to command her. The Retribution was smaller than the main Dreadnoughts, but she was fast and deadly. Sir, we're picking up multiple contacts coming out of hyperspace, reported Lieutenant Sarah Kim from the sensor station. They're not human ships. Greg felt his heart rate increase. How many? 15 ships, various sizes. The largest one is about twice our size. Sarah's voice was steady, but Greg could hear the tension. They're broadcasting on standard diplomatic frequencies. Put it on speakers, Greg ordered. The bridge filled with a sound like breaking glass mixed with wind chimes. Greg recognized it immediately. A Zephyrian voice. The universal translator kicked in a moment later. Unknown human vessel. This is Warsinger Veltar of the Zephyrian probe fleet. You will power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded for inspection. Greg smiled. He remembered that name from Admiral Morrison's report. This was one of the aliens who had laughed at humanity. Open a channel. Channel open, sir. Warsinger Veltar. This is Commander Greg Stone of the USS Retribution. We are conducting routine training exercises in this system. You are not authorized to board our vessel. The alien's laugh came through the speakers like breaking crystal. Routine exercises? Little human, you do not understand your situation. The Triumvirate has decided to check on your species' progress. You will comply with our inspection, or we will take your ship by force. Greg looked around his bridge. His crew was ready. They had trained for this moment for months. All hands, battle stations. This is not a drill. Red lights began flashing throughout the ship. The crew moved quickly to their combat positions. Greg had trained them well. They knew what to do. Sir, the alien ships are moving into attack formation, reported Lieutenant Tony Martinez from the weapons station. They're charging their weapons. Shields up, Greg ordered. Target the largest. Ship with kinetic penetrators. On the view screen, Greg could see the alien probe fleet. The ships were beautiful in their own way. The Zephyrian vessels looked like floating crystals that caught and reflected light in amazing patterns. But Greg wasn't here to admire alien. Art, sir, we're being scanned, Sarah said. They're trying to analyze our ship's capabilities. Let them scan, Greg replied. They won't understand what they're looking at anyway. The alien commander's voice came through the speakers again. Human vessel, our scans show that you are carrying primitive kinetic weapons. You cannot hope to match our plasma cannons and quantum torpedoes. Surrender now, and we will not destroy you. Greg keyed his communicator. All crew, this is the commander. The aliens think we're primitive. They think our weapons are toys. Let's show them what human toys can do. He turned to Tony. Fire when ready, firing kinetic penetrators. The USS Retribution shuddered slightly as 6 metal rods were launched from her forward weapons. Each rod was only a few feet long and weighed about 50 pounds. They didn't look like much, but they were moving at nearly the speed of light. The alien ship's energy shields lit up as the kinetic penetrators hit them. For a moment, the shields held. The aliens probably thought they had stopped the attack. Then the rods punched through. The shields like they weren't even there. The largest Zephyrian ship exploded in a shower of crystal fragments. 2 smaller ships were torn apart by the kinetic energy. The remaining alien ships scattered in confusion. Impossible. Came Veltar's voice over the radio. Our shields should have stopped those primitive projectiles. Lieutenant Martinez, prepare. Gravity mines, Greg ordered. Let's show them what else we've learned. The gravity mines were another human innovation. They were small devices that created powerful gravitational fields. When activated, they could trap ships or tear them apart. With tidal forces. Sir, the alien ships are trying to retreat, Sarah reported. They're charging their hyperspace drives. Deploy the mines, Greg said. 6 small objects shot out from the Retribution. They spread out around the alien fleet and activated. Space itself seemed to bend and twist around the alien ships. The exotic matter drives that powered their faster-than-light travel couldn't function in the distorted space-time. We're trapped. Veltar's voice had lost its arrogant tone. What sort of weapons are these? The kind that work, Greg replied. Lieutenant. Colonel Beth Morgan's voice came over the ship's intercom. Shadow Squadron ready to launch, Commander. Launch all fighters, Greg ordered. The USS Retribution's fighter bay opened, and 12 small ships shot out into space. They were unlike any fighters the aliens had ever seen. Instead of energy weapons, they carried miniature kinetic cannons and smart missiles. Beth led her squadron in a perfect attack formation. The alien ships tried to fight back, but their weapons were designed to fight other energy-based ships. The human fighters were too small and too fast for their targeting systems. This is Shadow 1. Beth's voice came through the radio. Beginning. Attack run. The human fighters swarmed over the alien ships like angry bees. Their weapons tore through alien hulls that had been designed to resist energy attacks, but couldn't handle kinetic impacts. One by one, the alien ships died. Their beautiful crystal hulls cracked and shattered. Their crew died in the vacuum of space. Within 10 minutes, only one alien ship remained intact. Veltar, this is Commander Stone, Greg said. Are you still there? I am here, human, came the weak reply. How is this possible? Your weapons are primitive. Your technology is inferior. That's your problem, Greg said. You think primitive means weak. You're wrong. Primitive means we're still learning. We're still growing. We're still finding new ways to solve problems. You cannot defeat the Triumvirate, Veltar said. This was only a small probe fleet. Our main fleet's number in the millions. Then you better tell them what happened here, Greg replied. Tell them that humans don't surrender. Tell them that we're ready to fight. He turned to his communications officer. Open a channel to the surviving alien ship. Channel open, sir. Veltar, you have two choices. You can die here with your fleet, or you can go home and tell your people what you learned today. Which will it be? There was a long pause. Then, Veltar's voice came through the speakers, much quieter than before. We will return home. Good choice, Greg said. But remember this. If any alien ship enters human space again without permission, we will destroy it. We won't ask questions. We won't give warnings. We'll just kill you. The last alien ship powered up its drives and jumped into hyperspace. Greg watched it disappear on the view screen. Sir, Sarah said, should we report this to Earth? Absolutely, Greg replied. But first, let's clean up this mess. The USS Retribution began collecting the wreckage of the alien ships. Every piece of technology would be studied. Every weapon would be analyzed. Humans had learned long ago that the best way to beat an enemy was to understand them completely. Commander, Tony said, do you think they'll be back? Greg smiled. Oh, they'll be back. But next time, they'll bring everything they have. They won't underestimate us again. Are you worried, sir? Worried? No. Greg looked out at the stars. I'm excited. For the first time in human history, we're going to fight for our survival against worthy opponents. We're going to show the entire universe what humans are really capable of. Lieutenant Colonel Morgan's voice came over the intercom. All fighters have landed safely, Commander. No casualties. Excellent work, Beth. Excellent work, everyone. As the USS Retribution finished collecting the alien wreckage, Greg thought about what would happen next. The aliens would go back to their leaders. They would report that human weapons were more dangerous than expected. They would demand a bigger fleet to deal with the human threat. That was fine with Greg. Let them come with their biggest fleets. Let them bring their most advanced weapons. Let them bring everything they had. Humans had been preparing for this. Fight for months. They had new ships, new weapons, and new strategies. But most importantly, they had something the aliens didn't have, the willingness to do whatever it took to survive. The triumvirate was about to learn that there was a big difference between being primitive and being weak. Humans were primitive, compared to the ancient alien civilizations. But they were not weak. They were hungry. They were desperate. And they were angry. That was a combination that had never failed humanity before. It wouldn't fail them now. Admiral Jake Morrison stood in the command center of the USS Dominator, flagship of humanity's shadow fleet. Around him, 12 massive dreadnoughts hung in space near the Proxima Centauri system. Each ship was a masterpiece of human engineering, built in secret and equipped with weapons the aliens had never seen before. "Admiral, long-range sensors are picking up the alien fleet," reported Captain Susan Price from the sensor station. "They're coming out of hyperspace at the edge of the system." Jake nodded. "How many?" "Preliminary count shows over 10,000 ships, sir. 3 distinct fleet formations: Zephyrian, Nexari, and Korathi." Jake felt his stomach tighten. 10,000. Ships against 12. The odds were worse than he had hoped, but better than he had feared. All ships, battle stations. This is what we trained for. Throughout the Shadow Fleet, alarms began sounding. Crews ran to their positions. Weapons were powered up. Shields were activated. The ships that had been built in secret were about to face their first real test. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the alien fleet," said Lieutenant Mark Johnson from Communications. "Put it through." The main screen lit up with the images of 3 alien commanders. Jake recognized them from Admiral Morrison's original. Meeting: Warsinger Veltar of the Zephyrians, Node Prime Kethvar of the Nexari, and Hive Lord Mordun of the Korathi. "Human Admiral." Veltar's voice was cold with anger. "You have made a grave mistake. Your attack on our probe fleet has sealed your species' fate." "We did not attack your probe fleet," Jake replied calmly. "We defended ourselves when you tried to board our ship without permission." Kethvar's energy form pulsed with angry colors. "You destroyed 15 ships with primitive weapons. This should have been impossible." "Maybe your ships weren't as advanced as you thought," Jake said. Mordun's mechanical voice was full of rage. "You will pay for your arrogance, human. We have brought the combined might of 3 galaxies to crush you. 10,000 ships against your pathetic 12. Jake smiled. "I like those odds." The aliens looked confused. Veltar spoke first. "You like being outnumbered 800 to 1? "It means we won't run out of targets," Jake replied. "All human ships, prepare for combat. Let's show these ancient fools what primitive really means." The alien fleet began moving toward the human ships. Jake watched them on the tactical display. They were moving in perfect formation, just like Captain Foster had predicted. 3 massive wedges of ships, each one representing millions of years of military tradition. "Sir, they're charging weapons," reported Captain Price. "All ships are targeting us. Hold position," Jake ordered. "Let them come to us." The distance between the fleets shrank rapidly. Jake could see the individual alien ships now on the main screen. They were beautiful and terrifying at the same time. The Zephyrian ships sparkled like giant jewels. The Nexari ships glowed with pure energy. The Korathi ships were dark and mechanical, covered in weapon ports. "Sir, they're in range, Captain," Price said. "All ships, hold fire," Jake ordered. "Let them shoot first." The alien fleet opened fire all at once. 10,000 ships launched energy beams, plasma bolts, and quantum torpedoes at the 12 human dreadnoughts. Space lit up like a star as the massive bombardment struck the Shadow Fleet. The human ships rocked under the impact. Their shields flared and sparked. Alarms sounded on every bridge. But the ships held together. The adaptive armor began learning from each hit, growing stronger with every impact. "Damage report," Jake called out. "Shields at 60% and rising," Captain Price reported. The adaptive systems are working. We're actually getting stronger. Jake keyed his communicator to broadcast to the entire fleet. All ships, this is Admiral Morrison. They wanted to see Primitive? Let's show them what Primitive can do. All weapons, fire at will. The USS Dominator shuddered as her main guns fired. Kinetic penetrators shot out at incredible speed, crossing the distance to the alien fleet in seconds. The other 11 human ships fired at the same time, launching hundreds of metal rods at their enemies. The alien fleet commanders watched in horror as their ships began exploding. The energy shields that had protected them for millions of years were useless against simple metal moving at near light speed. Ship after ship died as the kinetic weapons punched through their hulls. Impossible. Veltar's voice came over the radio. Our shields should stop those weapons. Your shields are designed to stop energy weapons, Jake replied. We're not using energy weapons. Captain Mike Davis of the USS Defiance came on the fleet channel. Admiral, deploying nanite swarms. Each human ship released clouds of microscopic robots into space. The nanites were too small for the alien sensors to detect, but they were programmed with one simple mission: find alien ships and eat them. The nanites swarmed over the alien fleet like an invisible plague. They began consuming the alien ships from the inside out, turning their hulls into dust and their systems into scrap metal. What is happening to our ships? Kethfer S-energy form was flickering with panic. They're dissolving. It's called nanite warfare, Jake said. Every time you shoot at us, we learn how to hurt you better. The alien fleet tried to retreat, but the human ships had surrounded them with gravity mines. The distorted space-time made it impossible for the alien ships to escape to hyperspace. Sir, the alien fleet is breaking formation, Captain Price reported. They're starting to panic. Jake could see it on the tactical display. The perfect alien formations were falling apart as ships tried to escape the human weapons. Some ships were running away from the nanite swarms. Others were trying to get out of range of the kinetic weapons. The unity of the combined fleet was cracking. All ships, focus fire on the command vessels, Jake ordered. Let's cut the head off the snake. The human fleet concentrated their fire on the largest alien ships. The flagships of the 3 alien fleets died one by one, their commanders screaming over the radio as their ships were torn apart. This cannot be happening. Mordoon's mechanical voice was full of disbelief. We are the masters of 3 galaxies. We have conquered countless species. How can primitive humans defeat us? Because you never learned the most important lesson. About warfare, Jake replied. It's not about having the best weapons. It's about having the will to use them. The USS Retribution, commanded by Captain Greg Stone, broke away from the main fleet and began hunting down fleeing alien ships. Her fighters swarmed over the scattered remnants of the alien fleet, picking off stragglers. This is Retribution. Greg's voice came over the fleet channel. The aliens are trying to send a distress signal to their home galaxies. Jam all communications, Jake ordered. I don't want word of this battle getting out until we're ready. The human ships used their electronic warfare systems to block all alien transmissions. The surviving alien ships were cut off from their home fleets. Alone and defenseless. As the battle continued, Jake watched the tactical display with satisfaction. The alien fleet that had numbered 10,000 ships was now down to less than 100. The human weapons were working exactly as designed. Sir, we're getting surrender signals from several alien ships, reported Lieutenant Johnson. Ignore them, Jake said. They came here to destroy humanity. Now they get to learn what it feels like to be destroyed. The battle continued for 3 more hours. By the end, only a dozen alien ships remained intact. Jake allowed them to survive for one reason. Someone had to carry the news back to the 3 galaxies. Attention, Surviving alien ships, Jake broadcast. This is Admiral Morrison of the Human Shadow Fleet. You came here to destroy us. Instead, you have learned what happens when you underestimate humanity. The few remaining alien commanders were silent. Their proud fleets were gone. Their advanced technology had proven useless against human weapons. You will return to your home galaxies, Jake continued. You will tell your leaders what happened here. You will tell them that humanity is not primitive. We are not weak. We are not to be underestimated. And if they don't listen? Came a weak voice from one. 6 months after the Great Battle, Admiral Jake Morrison stood in the council chamber of the newly built Unity Station. The massive space station orbited Earth and served as the headquarters for humanity's growing galactic empire. Through the large windows, he could see ships from dozens of different species coming and going. The 3 alien leaders who had once mocked humanity now sat at a round table, waiting for him. Warsinger Valtar of the Zephyrians looked different now. His crystal body was dimmer, less bright than before. Node Prime Kethfor of the Nexaray flickered with nervous energy. Hive Lord Mordun of the Korathis sat perfectly still, his red eyes staring at the table. "Thank you for coming," Jake said as he entered the room. "I know this isn't easy for any of you." Galtar spoke first, his voice no longer arrogant. "Admiral Morrison, our civilizations are dying. Without our fleets, we cannot protect our colonies. Pirates and raiders attack our worlds daily. Our people live in fear. Some of our worlds have already fallen to chaos," Kethfor added. "Millions are dead. Our governments are collapsing." Jake sat down across from them. "That's why you're here. We need to discuss the future." "What future?" Mordun's mechanical voice was bitter. "You destroyed our fleets. You have shown the galaxy that we are weak. Every enemy we have ever made is coming for revenge." "That's true," Jake agreed. "Your enemies see weakness, and they're attacking. But you have something they don't have." "What?" Valtar asked. "An alliance with humanity." The 3 aliens looked at each other. Kethfor spoke carefully. "What kind of alliance?" Jake activated a holographic display showing a map of the known galaxies. The Terran Confederation, a union of species working together for mutual benefit. You provide your knowledge and technology. We provide protection and military support. And if we refuse, Morden asked, "Then you die," Jake said simply. "Your civilizations will fall within a year. Your people will be enslaved or killed. Your cultures will disappear forever." Veltar's crystal body sparkled with fear. "You would let this happen?" "We wouldn't let it happen," Jake replied. "We would make it happen. Humanity tried to be diplomatic. We tried to find a peaceful solution. You responded with threats and ultimatums. Now we do things our way. What are your terms?" Kethfor asked. Jake pressed a button, and the holographic display changed to show a document. "Full membership in the Terran Confederation. You share all your technology with human scientists. You provide detailed maps of your territories. You accept human military bases in your systems. You want to occupy our worlds," Mordun said. "We want to protect them," Jake corrected. "Your people can govern themselves as they always have. But human ships will patrol your space. Human weapons will defend your colonies. Human laws will apply to anyone who threatens Confederation members." Valtar read through the document carefully. "This makes humanity the dominant power in 3 galaxies." "Humanity is already the dominant power," Jake replied. "We're just making it official." The door to the council chamber opened, and President Kelly Adams walked in. She was followed by Captain Amy Foster, now promoted to General, and Ryan Brooks from the Defense Department. "Gentlemen," President Adams said, "I hope Admiral Morrison has explained our position clearly." "Very clearly," Kethfor replied. But we need guarantees. How do we know you won't simply destroy us once we're no longer useful? General Foster spoke up. Because that's not how humans work. We don't destroy useful allies. We protect them. Ask any of the species that have already joined the Confederation. She activated another holographic display. The Tauri from the Andromeda Galaxy joined us 3 months ago. They were being invaded by a hostile species called the Wraith. Human fleets drove off the invaders and established protective zones. Around Tauri worlds? The result? Ryan Brooks added. Tauri technology combined with human innovation has produced weapons that are 30% more effective than anything we had before. President Adams sat down at the table. This isn't about conquest. It's about survival. The galaxy is a dangerous place. Alone, each of our species is vulnerable. Together, we're strong enough to face any threat. Mordaunt leaned forward. What? About the species that refuse to join your confederation? They're free to remain independent, President Adams replied. But they won't receive our protection. And if they threaten Confederation members, they'll face the consequences. What consequences? Veltar asked. Total annihilation, Jake said. We've learned that the only way to deal with truly hostile species is to eliminate them completely. No survivors, no second chances. The 3 aliens were silent for a long minute. Finally, Veltar spoke. We need time to discuss this with our governments. You have 24 hours, President Adams said. After that, we withdraw our offer, and you face your enemies alone. The 3 aliens left the council chamber to contact their home worlds. Jake watched them go, then turned to President Adams. Do you think they'll agree? He asked. They don't have a choice, she replied. Their civilizations are collapsing. We're their only hope. General Foster activated a tactical display. Sir, we've received reports from the outer systems. 3 more species have requested Confederation membership in the past week. Who? Jake asked. The Alari from the Pegasus Galaxy, the Nox from the local group, and the Furlings from the Outer Rim territories, she replied. All of them are being threatened by hostile neighbors. They want human protection. Ryan Brooks smiled. Our fleet construction program is ahead of schedule. We'll have 50 new Dreadnoughts online within 6 months. Each one incorporates technology from our new alliance partners. What about resistance? President Adams asked. There are still a few species that refuse to acknowledge human dominance. General Foster replied. The Go-Ud Empire has been particularly vocal in their opposition. They've been trying to form an alliance against us. How many ships do they have? Jake asked. About 500, all outdated technology. They're using the same basic designs they've used for thousands of years. Jake laughed. 500 ships against our current fleet of 25 dreadnoughts? I almost feel sorry for them. Should we take preemptive action? General Foster asked. Not yet, President Adams said. Let them make the first move. When they do, we'll respond with overwhelming force. The galaxy needs to see what happens to species that threaten the Confederation. 24 hours later, the 3 alien leaders returned to the council chamber. Veltar spoke for all of them. Our governments have agreed to join the Terran Confederation, he said. We accept your terms. President Adams smiled. Welcome to the Confederation. Your first shipment of human defensive systems will arrive within a week. 6 months later, Jake stood on the bridge of the USS Vengeance, watching as construction crews worked on the newest addition to the Confederation fleet. The ship was massive, larger than any dreadnought humanity had ever built. But it wasn't just a human ship. It incorporated Zephyrian crystal technology, Nexari energy systems, and Korathi mechanical innovations. Sir, the new ship is nearly complete, reported Captain Lisa Hayes, now serving as Jake's second in command. She be the most powerful vessel in the galaxy. What are we calling her? Jake asked. The USS Harmony, Lisa replied. President Adams thought it was appropriate. Jake nodded. The name was perfect. The ship represented everything the Confederation stood for, different species working together to create something greater than any of them could build alone. Admiral, came a voice from the communication station. We're receiving a distress call from the Rigel system. The Goa'uld Empire is attacking Confederation members. Jake smiled. Set course for Rigel. Maximum speed. Sir, should we call for backup? For the Goa'uld? Jake shook his head. The Vengeance can handle them alone. As the USS Vengeance jumped into hyperspace, Jake thought about how much had changed in less than a year. Humanity had gone from being mocked as primitive to ruling 3 galaxies. They had turned their greatest enemies into their closest allies. They had created an empire based on cooperation instead of conquest. But most importantly, they had proven that being primitive didn't mean being weak. It meant being adaptable. It meant being innovative. It meant being willing to change and grow and learn. The ancient alien civilizations had been powerful, but they had been stagnant. They had used the same technologies and tactics for millions of years. They had believed that age meant wisdom, but they had been wrong. In the vast universe, it wasn't the oldest species that survived. It wasn't the most advanced species that thrived. It was the most adaptable species that conquered. And humanity was nothing if not adaptable. The USS Vengeance dropped out of hyperspace above Rigel 4, where Goa'uld ships were bombarding Confederation colonies. Jake looked at the 500 enemy vessels on his tactical display and smiled. All weapons, fire at will, he ordered. Let's show them what happens when you threaten the Confederation. The battle was over in less than an hour. Not a single Goa'uld ship survived. As Jake watched the wreckage drift in space, he thought about the message this would send to the rest of the galaxy. The Terran Confederation was not to be trifled with. Species that joined the Confederation received protection and prosperity. Species that opposed it received destruction. It was a simple system, and it worked. Captain Hayes walked up beside him. Sir, we're receiving Serende. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship, the UES Horizon. He looked out at the stars through the large window. The year was 2387, and humans had been part of the Galactic Council for over 200 years. But they were still treated like children by the older alien races. Jake was 35 years old and had been a captain for 10 years. His job was to keep peace between different planets and species. Today felt like any other day. His crew was checking systems and preparing for another routine patrol near the outer rim. Captain, called out Lieutenant Mike Davis from his station. We're getting a message from Earth. It's marked urgent. Jake walked over to the communication panel. The face of Admiral Lisa Carter appeared on the screen. She looked worried, which was unusual for her. Jake, we need you to return to Earth immediately, she said. Something big has happened. We found something under the Pacific Ocean. What kind of something? Jake asked. The kind that changes everything, Lisa replied. I can't say more over this channel. Get back here as fast as you can. The message ended. Jake looked at his crew. They all seemed confused. Set course for Earth, Jake ordered. Maximum speed. 3 days later, Jake stood in Admiral Carter's office on Earth. With her was Dr. Ben Tucker, a man in his 50s who studied old civilizations. Next to him sat Dr. Amy Foster, a woman who studied ocean life. What we found doesn't make sense, Dr. Tucker began. 3 weeks ago, our deep ocean scanners detected large metal structures on the ocean floor. They're buried under thousands of years of sediment. Dr. Foster pulled up images on the screen. These structures are huge. The biggest one is over 5 miles long. At first, we thought they might be natural formations, but they're clearly artificial. Artificial how? Jake asked. They're ships, Admiral Carter said quietly. Ancient ships. But here's the strange part. They're human ships. Jake stared at her. That's impossible. Humans only started building spaceships 400 years ago. Dr. Tucker shook his head. These ships are at least 50,000 years old, maybe older. The technology is unlike anything we've ever seen. How can you be sure they're human? Jake asked. Dr. Foster showed him more images. The writing on the hulls. It's an ancient form of human language. We've been able to translate some of it. One of the ships is called the Eternal Guardian. Jake sat down heavily. You're telling me that humans built advanced spaceships 50,000 years ago? Where did they go? Why don't we remember them? That's what we're trying to figure out, Admiral Carter said. But there's more. The ships aren't just old. They're still functional. Some of them are starting to wake up. Wake up? Dr. Tucker nodded. They have artificial intelligence systems. When our team got close to one of the smaller ships, it started responding to their presence. It's like it recognized them as human. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. Have you told the Galactic Council about this? We sent a preliminary report, Admiral Carter said. The response was dismissive. The Zephyrians said it was impossible. The Vortani calculated that our data must be wrong. The Nexari didn't even bother to respond. They don't want to believe it, Dr. Foster said. If humans had advanced technology 50,000 years ago, it changes everything about how they see us. Jake understood. For over 2 centuries, humans had been treated as the youngest, least important species in the galaxy. The Zephyrians, with their reptilian features and sharp minds, ran most of the government. The Vortani, who looked like living crystals, controlled trade and technology. The Nexari, beings of pure energy, were considered the wisest. Thought all of them looked down on humans as newcomers who barely deserved a seat at the table. I want to see these ships, Jake said. The next day, Jake found himself in a deep-sea submarine, heading to the ocean floor. With him were Dr. Tucker, Dr. Foster, and Commander Kate Sullivan, head of Earth's Defense Forces. Kate was a tough woman in her 40s who had fought in several border conflicts. The energy readings are getting stronger, Dr. Foster reported as they descended. Whatever powers these ships, it's still active after all these years. There, Dr. Tucker pointed through the submarine's window. The Eternal Guardian. Jake pressed his face against the glass. In the submarine's lights, he could see the outline of something massive. It was sleek and beautiful, like nothing humans had ever built. Strange symbols glowed faintly along its hull. It's responding to our presence, Dr. Foster said, checking her instruments. The energy output just increased by 30%. Take us closer, Jake ordered Dot as they approached the ancient ship. Jake felt something strange. It was like a voice in his head, but not quite. More like a feeling of recognition. Captain, the submarine pilot said nervously, something's happening. The water around them began to glow with soft blue light. The ancient ship's hull seemed to pulse with the same light. It's beautiful, Dr. Foster whispered Dot suddenly. A voice filled the submarine. It was clear and strong, speaking perfect English. Welcome home, children of Earth. I am Phoenix, guardian of the Eternal Guardian. I have been waiting for you to return. Everyone in the submarine stared at each other in shock. You can hear us? Jake asked. I can hear you, Captain Morrison. I know who you are. I know why you're here. And I know that the time of awakening has come. Jake's heart raced. What do you mean, time of awakening? Your people have slept long enough. The galaxy needs its protectors again. The old enemies stir in the darkness beyond the stars. What old enemies? Dr. Tucker asked. That is a story for another time, Phoenix replied. For now, you must prepare. The other races will not welcome humanity's return to power. They have forgotten their place in the order of things. Jake looked at his companions. They all seemed as confused and amazed as he felt. "What do we do?" he asked. "First, you must awaken the fleet. There are hundreds of ships sleeping in the deep places of Earth's oceans. Each one waits for human hands to guide it again. And then? Then we remind the galaxy who humanity really is." 2 weeks had passed since Jake first spoke with Phoenix. The ancient ship had been raised from the ocean floor using massive floating platforms. Scientists and engineers worked around the clock to understand its technology. Dr. Ben Tucker stood inside the ship's main corridor, still amazed by what he saw. The walls seemed to be made of some kind of living metal that glowed softly. Everything was clean and perfect, as if the ship had been built yesterday instead of 50,000 years ago. "The translation is complete," said Dr. Sam Phillips, the team's language expert. He was a young man with thick glasses who had spent his life studying dead languages. The ship's records tell an incredible story. Jake, Admiral Carter, and Dr. Amy Foster gathered around a large display screen. Phoenix's voice filled the room. "What you are about to learn will change everything you believe about your species," Phoenix said. 50,000 years ago, humanity ruled an empire that covered half the galaxy. You called it the Terran Dominion. Images appeared on the screen showing massive space stations, planets covered in cities, and fleets of ships that made current. Galactic vessels looked like toys. "The Zephyrians were your administrators," Phoenix continued. "You uplifted them from primitive hunters to intelligent beings who could help manage your empire. The Vortani were created by human scientists as living computers to handle complex calculations. The Nexari were refugees from a dying dimension that humanity sheltered and gave new life." Dr. Foster gasped. "You're saying the elder races were?" "Our subjects?" "Not subjects," Phoenix corrected. "Partners. Clients. Children, in a way. Humanity was the first species to achieve true interstellar civilization in this galaxy. You guided others, protected them, helped them grow." Admiral Carter frowned. "If that's true, what happened to us? Why don't we remember?" The images on the screen changed, showing dark shapes moving between stars. They seemed to absorb light itself, making space around them appear empty and cold. "The Void Seekers," Phoenix said, and there was something like fear in the artificial voice. "They came from the spaces between galaxies, consuming entire star systems. They were not alive in any way we understood, but they were hungry. Always hungry." Jake stared at the images. "We fought them? For 1,000 years. The war consumed entire sectors of the galaxy. Billions died. Whole species were erased from existence. In the end, humanity made the ultimate sacrifice." "What kind of sacrifice?" Dr. Tucker asked. "Your leaders chose to forget. They developed a process that would remove all memory of the Terran Dominion from human genetic memory. Humanity would become a sleeping species, scattered across the galaxy, waiting for the time when you would be needed again." Dr. Foster shook her head. "That sounds impossible. You can't just make an entire species forget their history." "It required the cooperation of every human alive," Phoenix explained. "The process was voluntary. Parents chose to forget so their children could have a chance at a different life. The alternative was extinction." "But why?" Jake asked. "Why not just keep fighting?" "Because the Void Seekers learned to counter every weapon, every strategy. They adapted to everything humanity threw at them. The only way to truly defeat them was to disappear, to become something they couldn't understand or predict." Admiral Carter studied the images. "So we became primitive again, started over." "Not primitive, different, the genetic locks that made. You forget also made you more adaptable, more creative. When you finally returned to space, you did it in ways the Void Seekers had never seen before. Dr. Phillips looked up from his notes. Phoenix, you said the time of awakening has come. What triggers it? The return of the Void Seekers. They have been probing the galaxy's edges for the past 50 years. Your unconscious minds have been responding to their presence, which is why you've been having strange dreams, why human births have increased, why your technology has advanced so rapidly recently. Jake realized Phoenix was right. Humanity had made incredible technological breakthroughs in the past 50 years. New engine designs, better weapons, improved communication systems. Everyone said it was just natural progress, but now it seemed like something else. The other races, Dr. Foster said. Do they know about this? Some suspect. The oldest among them have genetic memories of the Terran Dominion, but they have built their current civilization on the belief that humanity is inferior. Accepting the truth would mean accepting that they are not the masters of the galaxy they believe themselves to be. Commander Kate Sullivan, who had been quiet until now, stepped forward. Phoenix, are there other ships like you? Thousands. Hidden in the deep places of every world humanity has touched. Each one waits for the awakening signal. Each one carries the memories of the Dominion and the weapons needed to fight the Void Seekers. How do we wake them up? Jake asked. You? Already have. When you first spoke to me, the awakening signal was sent throughout the galaxy. Right now, human colonies on hundreds of worlds are discovering ancient ships rising from their oceans, their deserts, their mountain ranges. Admiral Carter looked worried. The Galactic Council won't like this. They'll see it as a threat. They will, Phoenix agreed. Expect them to demand that you surrender these ships. They will claim that humanity is trying to start a war. Are we? Dr. Tucker asked quietly. You are preparing for a war that was never finished, Phoenix replied. The Void Seekers are coming back. The galaxy's current military forces cannot stop them. Only the weapons of the Terran Dominion have ever successfully held them off. Jake felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. What happens now? Now you must choose. Will you honor the sacrifice your ancestors made? Will you take up the burden of protecting the galaxy, even if the galaxy doesn't want your protection? Before anyone could answer, alarms began sounding throughout the ship. Commander Sullivan checked her communication device. We have a problem, she said. A joint fleet of Zephyrian and Vortani ships has entered Earth's solar system. They're demanding that we surrender what they're calling illegal weapons. Phoenix's voice became harder. It begins sooner than I expected. Captain Morrison, are you ready to show the galaxy what humanity is truly capable of? Jake looked at his colleagues. Dr. Tucker nodded grimly. Dr. Foster looked scared but determined. Admiral Carter straightened her shoulders. What do we need to do? Jake asked. Take command of the Eternal Guardian. Her weapon systems are fully operational. Her crew stations are designed for human hands. The knowledge you need is already in your genetic memory, waiting to be unlocked. I don't know how to command a ship like this, Jake protested. You will, Phoenix said confidently. The moment you sit in the captain's chair, 50,000 years of human naval tradition will flow through you. You are not just Jake Morrison. Anymore, you are the heir to the greatest military commanders in galactic history. Jake walked to the bridge of the ancient ship. The captain's chair was elegant and simple, made of the same living metal as the walls. As he sat down, he felt a surge of energy flow through him. Suddenly, he knew things he had never learned. He understood the ship's weapons, its defenses, its capabilities. He could feel the ship responding to his thoughts, becoming an extension of his will. Admiral Carter, he said, his voice stronger than before. Please contact the alien fleet. Tell them that Earth refuses their demands. Jake, she said carefully, are you sure about this? He looked at her with eyes that seemed older than his 35 years. I'm sure. It's time to remind the galaxy who we really are." Outside, the alien fleet waited for Earth's response. They had no idea they were about to face the awakened might of humanity's ancient empire. The alien fleet hung in space beyond Earth's moon like a collection of angry metal insects. 30 ships from the Zephyrian Empire and 20 crystal vessels from the Vortani collective had arrived within hours of each other. Their message was simple: surrender the ancient weapons or face the consequences. Supreme Chancellor Zereth of the Zephyrian Empire stood on the bridge of his flagship, a scaled vengeance. His reptilian features were twisted with anger. For 2 centuries, the Zephyrians had been the dominant military force in the galaxy. The idea that primitive humans had somehow acquired advanced weapons was insulting. "The humans are stalling," reported his communications officer. "They request more time to consider our demands." Zereth's forked tongue flicked out, tasting the air. Time to hide their illegal weapons, no doubt. Begin scanning their planet. Find these supposed ancient ships and target them for destruction. On the Vortani command ship, Prime Crystal pulsed with calculated thought. The Vortani were beings of living crystal who processed information faster than any organic mind. Prime Crystal had run thousands of simulations since learning of humanity's discovery. "The probability of successful deception is 0, Prime Crystal announced to its subordinates. Human genetic patterns show recent activation of dormant neural pathways. Conclusion: the ancient ships are real and functional. Should we withdraw?" Asked a smaller crystal entity. Negative. If humans possess pre-council technology, they represent a threat to galactic stability. Threat must be eliminated. On Earth, Jake Morrison sat in the captain's chair of the Eternal Guardian. The ship had been moved to a hidden position behind Earth's moon, along with 5 other ancient vessels that had been raised from the ocean floor. Each ship was now commanded by a human officer whose genetic memories had been awakened by contact with the ancient technology. "Captain," reported Lieutenant Sarah Miller, his new tactical officer, "the alien fleet is beginning active scans of Earth's surface. They're looking for the other ships." Jake felt the ship's systems respond to his thoughts. The Eternal Guardian was unlike any vessel he had ever imagined. Its hull could become invisible to most sensors. Its weapons could strike targets from impossible distances, and its AI could predict enemy movements with frightening accuracy. "Phoenix," he said, "show me what we're dealing with." The bridge's main screen displayed detailed information about each enemy ship. Jake was surprised to see that he understood all of it. The awakened memories in his mind told him exactly how to defeat each class of vessel. "The Zephyrian ships are tough, but slow," Phoenix explained. "They rely on heavy armor and brute force. The Vortani vessels are faster and more maneuverable, but their crystal hulls shatter easily if you hit them in the right places." Commander Kate Sullivan's voice came through the communication system. She was commanding the ancient destroyer, Starfire, along with 4 other awakened ships. "Jake, we're getting reports from around the galaxy. Human colonies are under attack. The Council has declared us a rogue species." Jake felt a cold anger building in his chest. "They're attacking civilian colonies?" "Not directly," Kate replied. "But they're blockading trade routes, cutting off supplies, forcing human settlements to surrender any ancient technology they've found." Admiral Carter's face appeared on a smaller screen. "Jake, the situation is getting worse. The Nexari have joined the coalition against us. They're calling it Operation Cleansing Light." Jake stood up from his chair. The genetic memories flowing through him showed him similar situations from humanity's ancient past. The Terran Dominion had faced many challenges, but they had never backed down from protecting their people. "All ships, prepare for battle," he ordered. "We're going to show them what happens when you threaten human civilians." "Jake, Admiral." Carter said urgently. There are 50 enemy ships out there. We only have 6. 6 ships from the Terran Dominion, Jake corrected. Phoenix, bring us to full combat readiness. The Eternal Guardian's hull began to glow with internal energy. Weapon ports opened along its sides, revealing armaments that seemed to bend light around them. The ship's engines produced no visible exhaust, but Jake could feel the immense power flowing through its systems. "Captain," called out Dr. Amy Foster from the science station, "I'm detecting massive energy buildups in the alien fleet. They're preparing to fire on Earth's surface." "They're going to destroy the shipyards," Jake realized. "They can't risk more ancient ships being awakened." He closed his eyes and felt the ship's consciousness merge with his own. The Eternal Guardian wasn't just a machine. It was a living extension of human will, shaped by 50,000 years of genetic memory and technological evolution. "All ships, attack pattern Delta 7, Jake ordered, the tactical knowledge flowing through him automatically. "Target their command vessels first." The 6 ancient human ships moved like ghosts through space, their hulls shimmering with energy. That made them nearly invisible. The alien fleet didn't see them coming until it was too late. The Eternal Guardian's main weapon fired a beam of pure energy that passed through the scaled Vengeance's shields as if they weren't there. The Zephyrian flagship's hull cracked open like an egg, venting atmosphere and bodies into space. Impossible. Xerath screamed as emergency systems tried to keep his ship together. Human weapons cannot penetrate our shields? But they weren't human weapons in the way he understood them. They were Terran Dominion weapons, built by a civilization that had conquered half the galaxy and fought beings from beyond the stars. The Vortani ships tried to respond, their crystal hulls spinning to present different angles to the attacking humans. But Commander Sullivan's destroyer, the Starfire, fired a spread of projectiles that seemed to phase in and out of reality. When they struck the Vortani vessels, the crystal hulls rang like massive bells before shattering completely. "Retreat," Prime Crystal commanded. "Human technology exceeds all projections. We must regroup." But retreating from Terran Dominion ships was easier said than done. The ancient vessels could move through space in ways that defied physics, appearing and disappearing at will. Within 10 minutes, half the alien fleet was destroyed or disabled. Jake felt no pleasure in the victory. The genetic memories showed him countless battles where humanity had been forced to fight former allies and friends. But there was no choice. The galaxy's current leaders had chosen to see humanity as a threat rather than a protector. "This is Captain Morrison to all remaining alien vessels," he broadcast. "Leave Earth's solar system immediately. Any ship that remains will be destroyed." The surviving alien ships began to withdraw, but Jake knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy had seen what awakened humanity could do, and they would not simply give up. They would gather larger fleets, make new alliances, and return with everything they had. "Phoenix," he said, "how many ancient ships are still sleeping throughout?" "The galaxy?" "Thousands, Captain. But awakening them all will take time. And the other races will not give us that time willingly." Jake looked at the tactical display showing the retreating alien fleet. In the distance, he could see more ships arriving. Reinforcements from across the galaxy. The war for humanity's place in the universe was just beginning. "Commander Sullivan," he said, "begin awakening protocols for all sleeping ships in human-controlled space. We're going to need every vessel we can find." "Yes, sir," Kate replied. "Jake, there's something else. We're getting reports that some of the alien races are trying to destroy the sleeping ships before they can be awakened. They're bombing archaeological sites, flooding underwater locations, anything to prevent us from recovering our heritage." Jake felt the ancient anger of the Terran Dominion flowing through him. 50,000 years ago, humanity had tried to protect and guide the younger races. Now those same races were trying to destroy humanity's children out of fear and jealousy. Then, we'll have to protect them, he said, all of them, no matter what the cost. The war for the galaxy's future had begun, and humanity was outnumbered 1,000 to 1. But they had something the other races had forgotten: the will to fight. For their family, even when their family didn't want to be saved. 3 months had passed since the battle at Earth. The galaxy was now at war, though the Galactic Council called it a peacekeeping operation. Every major species had committed ships to hunt down and destroy human vessels, both ancient and modern. Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Eternal Guardian, studying reports from across the galaxy. The news was not good. Human colonies were under siege, trade routes were blocked, and civilian ships were being captured or destroyed. The Council had declared humanity a rogue species and authorized military action against any human presence. "Captain," reported Lieutenant Sarah Miller, "we're receiving a distress signal from the Kepler colony. They're under attack by a Nexari battle group." Jake felt the weight of command pressing down on him. The Eternal Guardian was fast and powerful, but it was only one ship. There were thousands of human settlements across the galaxy, and he couldn't protect them all. "How many people at Kepler colony?" he asked. 50,000 civilians, sir, mostly farmers and miners." Jake closed his eyes and felt the ship's consciousness merge with his thoughts. The genetic memories showed him similar situations from the ancient past. The Terran Dominion had faced impossible odds before, but they had never abandoned their people. "Set course for Kepler colony," he ordered, "maximum speed." But as they jumped through hyperspace, Jake knew he was fighting a losing battle. The enemy had thousands of ships spread across the galaxy. Even with the advanced technology of the ancient vessels, humanity was outnumbered and outgunned. The answer came from an unexpected source. Dr. Sam Phillips, the language expert, had been studying the ancient records found in the sleeping ships. He called Jake to the ship's library, where Phoenix displayed holographic images of star charts from 50,000 years ago. "Captain," Dr. Phillips said excitedly, "I've found something incredible. The Terran Dominion didn't just build individual ships. They built entire fleets and hid them in secret locations throughout the galaxy." Jake studied the star charts. They showed systems he had never heard of, hidden bases in asteroid fields, and massive shipyards concealed inside hollow moons. "Phoenix," he said, "are these bases still there?" "Most of them should be," the AI replied. "The Dominion built them to survive for millions of years. They were designed to remain hidden until humanity needed them again." "How many ships are we talking about?" "Each major cache contains between 100 and 1,000 vessels. There are 47 major caches scattered across the galaxy." Jake felt his heart racing. If they could find and activate even a few of these hidden fleets, they could turn the tide of the war. "What's the catch?" he asked. "There's always a catch. The caches are protected by genetic locks," Phoenix explained. "They can only be opened by humans with the proper genetic markers. And the activation process requires specific code sequences that were scattered through human cultural memory." "Doctor," Phillips nodded, "that's what I've been working on. The codes are hidden in human legends, myths, and stories. They're patterns that have been passed down through generations, without people realizing what they were." Jake looked at the star charts again. "Which cache is closest to our position?" "The Titan cache, located in the Crab Nebula. It contains approximately 300 ships, including several dreadnoughts." "How long would it take to get there?" 2 weeks by hyperspace," Phoenix replied. "But Captain, you should know that the Coalition forces are also searching for these caches. They have access to ancient Dominion records through their own archaeological discoveries." Jake made his decision. "We can't let them destroy humanity's heritage. Set course for the Crab Nebula." The journey to the Titan cache was dangerous. Coalition patrols were everywhere, and the Eternal Guardian had to avoid several large fleet formations. Jake used the ship's advanced stealth systems to remain hidden, but he knew their luck wouldn't last forever. When they finally reached the Crab Nebula, Jake was amazed by what they found. Hidden inside the nebula's gas clouds was a massive artificial structure, a hollow asteroid that had been converted into a shipyard. The facility was larger than most space stations, with docking bays that could hold hundreds of vessels. "It's beautiful," whispered Dr. Amy Foster, who had joined them for the mission. 50,000 years old, and it looks like it was built yesterday. As they approached the facility, Jake felt a strange sensation. The genetic memories in his mind were becoming stronger, more detailed. He could see the shipyard as it had been during the height of the Terran Dominion, busy with workers, filled with ships preparing for the war against the Void Seekers. "Phoenix," he said, "begin activation sequence." The ancient AI guided Jake through the process. It required him to place his hand on several scanning devices and speak code phrases that Dr. Phillips had discovered in human mythology. As each lock was opened, Jake felt more of his genetic memory awakening. The shipyard's main computer came online with a sound like distant thunder. Lights began glowing throughout the facility, and the air recycling systems started working. In the massive docking bays, shapes began to emerge from the darkness. By the ancestors, Jake breathed, the ships were magnificent. Sleek destroyers, massive cruisers, and 3 enormous dreadnoughts that dwarfed anything in the current galaxy. Each vessel was a masterpiece of engineering, built with technology that made contemporary ships look primitive. "How long will it take to wake them all up?" Jake asked. "The ship's AI systems are already activating," Phoenix replied. "But they will need crews. Each vessel requires at least 20 humans to operate effectively." Jake felt a stab of disappointment. "We don't have enough people. The Eternal Guardian's crew is only 15. "There is another way," Phoenix said carefully. "The ships can be operated in drone mode, controlled by a master AI. But this requires a human commander to make the final decisions." "You mean one person could control an entire fleet?" "Theoretically, yes. But the mental strain would be enormous. The commander would need to think like 100 different ships at once." Jake looked at the awakening fleet. 300 ships, each one more powerful than anything the Coalition had. It was humanity's best hope for survival. "I'll do it," he said. "Captain," Dr. Foster said worriedly, "are you sure?" Phoenix said the strain could be enormous. "I'm sure," Jake replied. "My ancestors made sacrifices to protect the galaxy. I can make this one to protect humanity." The process of linking Jake's mind to the fleet's AI systems was unlike anything he had ever experienced. He felt his consciousness expanding, touching each ship's computer brain. Suddenly, he could see through hundreds of sensors, think with dozens of processing units, and feel the power of an entire fleet flowing through him. It was overwhelming at first. The sensation of being in multiple places at once made him dizzy, but gradually his mind adapted. The genetic memories helped him understand how to coordinate the fleet's movements, how to think tactically on a massive scale. "Fleet activation complete," Phoenix announced. "All ships are under your command, Admiral Morrison." Jake realized that Phoenix had promoted him. He was no longer just a captain. He was now the admiral of the largest human fleet in 50,000 years. "All ships prepare for departure," he ordered. His voice echoed through the communication systems of 300 vessels. "We have a galaxy to save." But as the fleet began to move, Jake's expanded consciousness detected something troubling. Coalition forces were approaching the nebula in massive numbers. They had found the cache and were coming to destroy it. "Admiral," reported the tactical AI, "enemy fleet detected." 600 ships, multiple species. They'll be here in 3 hours. Jake felt the weight of command settling on his shoulders. 300 ships against 600. The odds were better than usual, but still not good. Then we'll have to make those 3 hours count, he said. All ships, battle stations. It's time to show the galaxy what the Terran Dominion can do. The greatest space battle in 50,000 years was about to begin, and Jake Morrison found himself at the center of it all. The fate of humanity, and possibly the entire galaxy, rested in his hands. The battle for the Titan cache had been won, but at a terrible cost. Jake Morrison sat in the command chair of the Eternal Guardian, his mind still connected to the fleet of ancient ships. 200 vessels remained from the original 300. The coalition had lost over 400 ships, but they would send more. "Admiral," reported Lieutenant Sarah Miller, "we're receiving priority communications from across the galaxy. Something's happening at the galactic rim." Jake felt a chill run through his expanded consciousness. The genetic memories were screaming warnings that he didn't fully understand. "Put it on the main screen," he ordered. The image that appeared made everyone on the bridge gasp. The outer edge of the galaxy was turning black. Not the normal darkness of space, but a writhing, hungry darkness that seemed to devour light itself. "Phoenix," Jake said quietly, "tell me those aren't what I think they are." "I'm afraid they are, Admiral. The Void Seekers have returned." The ancient Ios voice carried a weight of fear that Jake had never heard before. On the screen, massive shapes moved through the darkness. Ships that were larger than space stations. Beings that fed on the energy of stars themselves. "How many?" Jake asked. "Sensors indicate at least 10,000 major vessels," Phoenix replied. "They're consuming entire star systems as they advance. 3 colonies have already gone dark." Jake felt the blood drain from his face. The Coalition had 6,000 ships spread across the galaxy, and they were already committed to fighting humanity. Against 10,000 Void Seekers, they wouldn't stand a chance. "Get me a direct channel to the Coalition fleet," he ordered. "Admiral," Dr. Amy Foster said from her station, "are you sure that's wise? They're still trying to destroy us." "They won't be soon," Jake replied grimly. "Not when they see what's coming." The communication screen flickered to life, showing the IVE. Faces of the Coalition's military leaders. Supreme Chancellor Zereth of the Zephyrians, Prime Crystal of the Vortani, and War Marshal Phylix of the Nexari. All of them looked angry and hostile. "Human Admiral," Zereth hissed, "we will not negotiate with terrorists. Surrender your illegal weapons or face complete annihilation." Jake looked at them with eyes that held 50,000 years of genetic memory. "Look at your long-range sensors," he said calmly. "Look at the galactic rim. Then tell me if you still think humanity is your biggest problem." The alien leaders turned to check their displays. Jake watched their expressions change from anger to confusion to pure terror. "Impossible," whispered Prime Crystal, its crystalline form flickering with rapid calculations. "The energy readings exceed all known parameters. Those are Void Seekers," Jake said, "the same beings that nearly destroyed the galaxy 50,000 years ago. The same beings that forced humanity to sacrifice its empire to stop them. War Marshal Phylix, whose energy form normally blazed with confident light, seemed to dim." "You're lying. This is some human trick." "Phoenix," Jake said, "show them the historical records." The ancient AI transmitted data files to the Coalition ships. Images of the original war appeared on their screens, entire star systems being consumed, billions of beings dying, the Terran Dominion fighting desperately against an enemy that seemed unstoppable. "This is why humanity gave up its empire," Jake continued. "Not because we were defeated, but because we chose to become something the Void Seekers couldn't predict or counter. We scattered ourselves across the galaxy, forgot our power, and waited for the day when we would be needed again. Supreme Chancellor Xerath's reptilian features had gone pale. How do we fight them? With unity, Jake replied. The ancient records show that the Void Seekers adapt to any single strategy, any single technology. They can counter individual species, but they struggle against coordinated attacks from multiple civilizations. You're asking us to ally with humans, Prime Crystal said, after we have spent months trying to destroy you. I'm asking you to remember why the Terran Dominion was created in the first place, Jake answered. To protect the galaxy, to protect all life. Your people, our people, everyone. The coalition leaders looked at each other uncertainly. 50,000 years of believing they were the galaxy's rightful rulers was hard to overcome. What do you propose? War Marshal Thylex asked finally. A new alliance, Jake said. Humans provide the ancient weapons and tactical knowledge. The coalition provides the numbers and industrial capacity. Together, we might have a chance. As they talked, more reports came in from the galactic rim. The Void Seekers were advancing, faster than anyone had expected. Entire sectors were going dark as the hungry darkness consumed everything in its path. Admiral Morrison called out Commander Kate Sullivan from the Starfire. We're receiving emergency signals from the Nexus system. It's under attack. Jake's expanded consciousness felt the fear radiating from billions of beings as the Void Seekers approached the galaxy's most populated region. The genetic memories showed him similar moments from the ancient war, the terrible choice between saving some and losing all. All coalition forces, he broadcast on all channels. This is Admiral Morrison of the Terran Fleet. I'm transmitting defensive coordinates to all your ships. Follow our lead, and we might save your people. Why should we trust you? Xerath demanded. Because I'm about to do something that will either save the galaxy or destroy everything we've built, Jake replied. Phoenix, activate the Omega Protocol. The ancient I hesitated. Admiral, are you certain? The Omega Protocol requires the sacrifice of an entire fleet to create a temporal barrier. There's no guarantee it will work. Do it, Jake ordered. Across the galaxy, every awakened Terran ship began to glow with building energy. The vessels started moving toward the advancing Void Seekers, but not to attack them. Instead, they were positioning themselves to create a massive energy web that would slow the enemy advance. What are you doing? War Marshal Thylex asked in alarm. Buying time, Jake replied. The Omega Protocol will create a temporal barrier that should hold the Void Seekers for several hours, long enough for us to coordinate a real defense. But your ships will be destroyed, yes, Jake said calmly. Just like my ancestors destroyed themselves to save the galaxy 50,000 years ago. The only difference is that this time we're not alone. The coalition leaders watched in amazement as the human ships moved into position with perfect coordination. Each vessel was piloted by crews who had volunteered for a mission they knew they wouldn't survive. Admiral, Dr. Foster said quietly, there might be another way. If we can modify the coalition ship's weapons with Terran technology, we might be able to fight the Void Seekers directly. Jake felt hope stirring in his chest. Through his connection to the fleet, he could sense the modifications needed. It would require perfect timing and incredible trust between former enemies. All coalition ships, he broadcast, prepare to receive technology uploads. We're going to teach you how to hurt things that exist outside normal space-time. The next few hours were the most intense of Jake's life. His consciousness split between hundreds of ships as human engineers worked with alien crews to modify weapons, shields, and engines. The genetic memories guided him through technology that seemed like magic to the other species. When the Void Seekers finally broke through the temporal barrier, they faced something they had never encountered before. A united galaxy fighting with weapons, designed specifically to counter their abilities. The battle raged across dozens of star systems. The Void Seekers were powerful, but they couldn't adapt fast enough to the combined tactics of multiple species using hybrid technology. Zephyrian ships armed with Terran energy weapons. Vortani vessels using human phase technology. Nexari energy. Beings channeling ancient human defensive algorithms. Jake felt every shot fired, every ship lost, every small victory that brought them closer to success. The genetic memories showed him patterns in the enemy movements, weaknesses that had been discovered through centuries of ancient warfare. Focus fire on the central entity, he ordered, as his consciousness guided the battle. That's their coordination node. If we can destroy it, the rest will lose cohesion. The combined fleet concentrated their fire on a massive dark shape at the center of the Void Seeker formation. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, suddenly, the darkness began to crack like breaking glass. Light poured out of the cracks. Not normal light, but something older and purer. The Void Seekers. Formation wavered and began to collapse. "It's working," shouted Commander Sullivan. "They're retreating." Jake watched through 1,000 sensors as the Void Seekers pulled back toward the galactic rim. They weren't destroyed, but they were defeated. "For now, Admiral Morrison," said Supreme Chancellor Zirith, his voice filled with respect Jake had. "Never heard before? We owe you an apology, and our thanks." "You owe me nothing," Jake replied. "We all owe each other." That's what the Terran Dominion was really about. Not ruling the galaxy, but protecting it. In the aftermath of the battle, the galaxy began to rebuild. The Galactic Council was reformed with Earth as its capital, acknowledging humanity's role as the galaxy's protectors. The other species, humbled by their near extinction, worked to integrate Terran technology with their own. Jake Morrison, now known as Supreme Admiral of the Galactic Defense Force, stood on the bridge of the Eternal Guardian looking out at the stars. The genetic memory